Hello everyone, welcome to Keystone Academia. Myself, Misbah Saudagar, I am lead tutor for strategy case study and management case study at the Keystone Academia. So Keystone is a registered tuition provider with CIMA. We have been giving successful result from almost 5 to 6 years now. We have a national rank, global rank. So coming to the point, today we are with the new pre-scene for November 2025 and February 2026. That is Cewmlator, as you can see. Very excited about this industry because as you know, a lot of things have been going on for this industry, especially when we see the geopolitical things and especially in the US market when the government changed and they were the ones subsidizing and now they have stopped subsidizing. So there is a lot of things happening across this industry. So trending topics, very excited to get started. Okay, so this is the pre-scene name Cewmlator, as you can see from the picture. We are into car manufacturing. So let's get started. So firstly, we'll look at the table of contents. Technically, it's a pre-scene, so I'll just briefly give you an idea. And I hope some of you might be writing the pre-scene first time. Okay, so what is pre-scene? So pre-scene is basically an introduction to your company. So you have to take it as if it's your company, my company. If Mr. John is writing, so this is John company, Sunita is writing Sunita's company. So you have to explain and answer everything as a first person, not like a third person. A lot of students try to do rote writing what they have learned in E3, P3 and F3, but that doesn't make sense here. In fact, if that was the case, they would have not conducted this exam. So the main thing here is to apply to the scenario. In fact, you'll not believe I have students who have cleared in 15 days, 20 days, and there are students I know it's been 3 years, 4 years, they have not cleared this exam. Even 5 attempts, 6 attempts. Why? Because they are not applying it properly. Okay. So the first thing is to look at the content. This is your company. Imagine you're working in a company for last 10 years and you are 20 years experienced person. You're a finance vice president. You're working with the board. And imagine being wrong with the facts about your own company. How does it sound? Isn't it? Sound silly. That can never happen. So make sure that mistake doesn't happen here. Okay. But the best part is they are not giving you hundreds and thousands of pages to discuss. It's just a small 22 pages document here. Okay, first start with the introduction. Today, this is the first part of pre-scene analysis. So we'll be looking at the first few sections. So introduction, they talk about your role. Then next thing is introduction to electric cars. So technically the industry, how big the industry is, how the industry is changing. In fact, if you're following the news, you must have seen there was a lot of optimism around this industry like 3 years, 4 years back, especially before COVID and maybe a little bit on during or post-COVID. But now that excitement has been reducing. But at the same time, the traditional players who are doing ICE engine, internal combustion engine, they are also coming in to the electric cars. And the trending company is no more Tesla, it is BYD. So we'll come to that. So types of electric cars, it includes the shift from ICE, electric car market. And obviously, after knowing the industry, the accumulator when it was started, whether it is listed company or not, how many employees works, what is our annual report, the vision, the mission, and everything becomes a part of it. Then the board of directors. Technically, it's your company, so you should know everything about it. What is the board of directors? Because any company is only as good as their leaders. And who are the leaders? The board of directors. Then the risk we are facing, the financial statements. We'll do a separate video on financial statements and separate analysis because that's very important. In fact, we can guess a lot of questions. Let's say in the previous exam, we have seen a question coming from dividend. And we knew it because our company was paying almost double than the industry average. So it was obvious that they want to give it something extraordinary. So it will make sense for CIMA to test on that topic. Then extract from sustainability report. This is something new. Previously, we are talking about sustainability, but now we have sustainability report, sustainability committee. So very excited about this new thing. Extract from competitors' financial statements. So as always, they give you about the competitors because many times our strategy is evolved or is developed based on the competitors' reaction or what is the competitors doing. If you have done E3, there is one chapter about external environment. That's where we consider about our competitors. Then share price history, how our share price is moving, overall the news stories, what people are talking, what is the discussion in the market. So all of this. Remember regarding the industry analysis, this is very basic. So we do have our own document for industry analysis, which we worked and will share with you during the sessions. where we can go in detail about the industry. For now, let's get started with the introduction. Okay, even before that, I like to talk about my favorite topic, that is the mindset. As I said, there are students who clear very fast and there are students who take time. So know the exams. Okay, twice the SCS exam, strategy case study. And nowadays, a lot of students are, even coming directly to SCS, whether it is C-suite route, who are, already people who have been finance director or finance vice president. Then we have GPAP, who are chart accountants, cost accountant, CS, and we also have A-star route, which gives a limited but direct access to students who have graduated with 75% in BCom and BBA. They can also come into the SCS. So for them, especially, it's important to know the mindset. They think it's just one paper, but we have to realize that at least three pillars, that E3, P3, and F3, need to be considered to clear this exam. All right. So to pass this or to exit this exam, understand the role of a senior finance manager, which is you. Senior finance manager, according to CIMA, is finance vice president who are reporting to the board. Focusing on 5 key skills. So your exam will focusing on 5 skills. What are they? People skill, business skill, technical skill, leadership skill, and digital skill. You must be wondering why people skill is coming so important. Why leadership skill? Because if you are a vice president, if you are a senior finance manager, you are dealing team, right? If you are a leader and you cannot manage conflict, you don't have that people skill. If you cannot take the decision, you don't have the leadership skill. In fact, if I tell you funny part, many times people skill and leadership skill is indirectly tested. How indirectly? Let's say they ask a question about choosing the finance. They'll ask, what are the options available we have to fund this acquisition? So usually students will write, okay, we have this debt option. In debt, we have convertible, non-convertible, equity, and everything. And they will close their answer. That's not correct. The correct thing is you give all the options, then give a recommendation. And recommendation also should be very clear. We should not sit on the fence. According to me, we should go for bank loan. Reason being so and so, and this is the action plan. Very clear recommendation, justification, action plan. That is very important. Same thing with the people skill. Usually, this question can be linked to post-acquisition issues. So we talk about the integration, overpaying, underpaying, but what about culture? What about, we have to give time and respect to the people of both the companies. Another people skill we need to showcase. Okay. Then business skill is important. So CIMA is focusing more on to business acumen. In fact, business acumen is the best skill and the most important skill that is required here, because this is not a traditional exams. Here they need to see, do you have the understanding of the business? And how you will have the understanding of the business? First, you have to understand the industry. Then you understand your position of the business. For example, one question they usually ask about, evaluate the project, evaluate the acquisition. So what is evaluation? We talk about SAF model in that, suitability, acceptability, feasibility. So we have to see if the current position of the business is suitable to do that. Is it acceptable by the stakeholders? Do we have the resources, the feasibility, human resource, technical resource? That is business acumen. In fact, I usually recommend our Keystone students to, do research, watch documentaries of the businesses going on, successful business, failure business, startups. Keep a close eye. That also helps in the exam. Then technical skill. Technical skill, they can ask you, let's say the business valuation from F3, how to value a business. Or sometime they'll ask about share price. They can ask about risk register, which is very specific to the topic. So these are the 5 skills. Irrespective of the pre-scene, irrespective of the industry, this is the skill they will be testing. So you need to apply the knowledge of individual pillars, E, P, and F. So E pillar is about enterprise. It helps us to understand the ecosystem, the industry, our strength, weakness, opportunity, threat of the business, digitization. So it's completely theory. P3, the most important. In fact, I've seen sometimes the entire paper, all 3 tasks is coming from P3. That is risk management. In risk, now trending topic is cybersecurity. Then corporate governance, sustainability committees, all other committees, risk management, risk register, all of that is part of P3. Then F3 is financial strategy. Here we talk about valuing of the business. For example, I just said about acquisition. So acquisition is one of the commonly asked questions. I'm very confident at least one variant in November should have acquisition question. At least 98% probability I can say. At least one variant. Because acquisition is a question where they can test almost 3 or 4 of this skill: people, business, technical, leadership. So it makes sense for the examiner to test you on that. Then F3 also focused on types of financing option we have, how to have a financial structure, In fact, they also have forex, foreign exchange risk, currency risk, interest rate risk. This also been discussed in FA. So make sure you go towards this exam as 4 paper. You're writing one, but these 3 are pillars. If you don't work on pillars, we can collapse during the exam. So from now onwards, take a pledge. I am working for Cewmlator. If somebody asks you in a casual meeting, where do you work? No, I don't work in Deloitte. I don't want to work in any of the bank. Now I work for Cewmlator. For 2 months, I am working here. Your exams will be typically based on the senior manager's role in the industry of electric car manufacturing and sales. So your role is leadership, obviously. Plus, you should see how the things change in the industry. Let's take an example. You are a CIMA qualified and your friend is CIMA qualified. Okay, hopefully you'll be CGMA member soon. So imagine one is coming from real estate, 15 years of experience, another is coming from FMCG. Now both are applying to a new role, let's say in real estate. So which one will have the benefit? The person 1 or person 2? Obviously the person 1. Why? Because that person is having more experience in the industry. So that's how we have to tweak. Therefore, we'll do industry analysis, which is beyond this, which is not given in the pre-screen. We'll do extra. Okay. So let's get started. So Cewmlator. Cewmlator is a quoted company that manufactures electric cars. Usually there is a trending thing from CIMA last few years. They were talking about service industry. So I'm very excited. This is something in manufacturing. There is a lot we can write in the manufacturing, but at the same time, there is a lot they can test as well because supplier issues and everything just pile up. Firstly, being a quoted company brings in a lot of advantages and disadvantages. For example, disadvantage can be scrutiny, legal compliance, and remember, compliance doesn't give us profit, doesn't give us revenue. It's just a cost. In fact, if you want to link it to the recent topic, recently the Trump administration was saying they want to remove the US companies for submitting their reports quarterly. It is under review. Okay, it was just a tweet, so I'm giving as an example that SEC, Security Exchange Commission in the US, they want to remove and make it a little bit flexible. Maybe instead of quarterly, they can do in 6 months' time. They're comparing to China, how the government is supporting. They're having plan for 50 years and now they're doing every 3 years. So that is a disadvantage. But as a disadvantage, if you see a quoted companies, you can raise finance, goodwill in the market. You can get access to multiple sources of finance. You can get good employees to work for because your reputation is higher. Your shares are marketable. So a lot of advantages and disadvantages come with the quoted company. However, most of the bigger companies you will see they are quoted. Why? Because they need a lot of finance. Then we are into manufacturing. This is a total, manufacturing, especially in today's world where geopolitical situations are not stable. In fact, if I tell you one important question here itself, political risk is very commonly asked now. And as we know the situation, so maybe that is number 1 or number 2 from my side. And we'll see the other nuances of manufacturing, how it works, the suppliers, how to manage the suppliers, then the customer, the supply chain, all of that. Okay, moving on. All of Cewmlator's products are powered by rechargeable batteries that are linked to electric motors. So our products are powered by rechargeable batteries. So lithium mining. So lithium batteries are the one which is, supporting this batteries. Imagine if there is no lithium batteries or the mining of lithium has an issue. So definitely it will affect this. In fact, companies like Tesla, they have acquired stake in lithium mining. Why? Because the supply chain is very much disrupted. So we'll go into that in detail when we do industry analysis. You are a senior manager in Cewmlator finance function. So we have seen what are the expectation of the senior finance manager. In fact, we have some more points. I'll bring it in a moment. Then you report directly to the board and advise on special projects and strategic matters. So a lot of students are confused whether we should use a lot of technical knowledge or you should just keep it basic. Remember, when you're writing to the board, they are not coming from finance. And no need to show off your finance knowledge, just keep it simple. The board just wants the solution. If they ask you about managing financial risk, don't explain what is forward rate agreement, what is forward rate contract, swap, nothing. Just say what are the advantage and disadvantage, what you recommend. Keep it simple. Then advise on special projects and strategic matters. Again, the same thing. Students are confused. They don't know what is special project, what is strategic matter. Okay, I'll give you one more hint. Special project is something which we have not done in the past. And the definition of project, it is unique. It should be something with the deadline. That is special project. For example, acquiring a new business, going into a new market. Now we are doing electric cars. Let's say tomorrow we start making electric bikes. That's a special project. And what is strategic matters? Strategic matters is something which is, let's say, to decide a dividend, decide our financing, or deal with our committee, something which is existing for us. Something new becomes special project. So what we do in our session is we make a list of special projects like 15 to 20, then list of strategic matters 15 to 20. And God's grace, most of the questions are actually being coming in the exam because we make it practical. And they have given you directly that special project and strategic matters can be asked. So what we can do, we can go to the industry and see what are the trending special projects happening. We can see what is the trending strategic matters happening and we can get a guess. Simple as that. Okay. Now Cewmlator's head office is located in Duxland. So Duxland, again, a fictional country. You can take it like UK, for example, or anything is fine. But when you're talking about corporate governance, we have to talk from UK perspective. A developed country that has an active and well-regulated stock exchange. So again, being a developed country can bring in a lot of advantage and disadvantage. Advantage can be good infrastructure, business favoring policies, so many. Disadvantage, high tax, sustainability is a thing. Then employees, you need to pay higher. Then obviously you have local taxation, state, central, a lot of other taxation can come in. Regulations are strict. And nowadays, sustainability, recycling is also becoming a very important topic. Moving on, active and well-regulated stock exchange means what? That means whatever we do will affect our share price. And if you link this to efficient market hypothesis, whenever something is public in a semi-strong market, share price will react. So we need to be very, very careful with our decision, which are communication. In fact, just one news article, maybe it is fake, it can affect our business profile. So when you take it very, very seriously. Then Duxland currency is $. So does it affect? Technically, the good news is there is no calculation, but it might give you a hint. For example, if you're looking at numbers, we can compare to the real world company. Let's say how big let's say the market is 100 billion and we are like 100 million. So we are pretty small. But let's say we are half of that, then we are pretty big. So this can give us an idea to look at the global market, how big we are at globally. For example, now I think like BYD is the biggest, the Chinese business company. Duxland requires the companies to prepare their financial statements in accordance with IFRS. So reporting with IFRS, technical questions about that is usually asked in management case study, which you guys have already done successfully. So congratulations on that. And if some of you are coming directly, you have that knowledge or you can brush it up. That is important. Now doing with IFRS helps us to, in terms of mergers, in terms of acquisition, when we are comparing the financial statements, it's an advantage. So we are going head to head with the organization. We have some points here like Cewmlator is business focused on manufacturing and dealership of EV cars. New upcoming arena uncertainty at peak, securing acceptance and winning is challenge. It's a very, very, very financially intensive business. And if you see investors are not ready to invest in you. Why? Because the risk is high. Just one policy change, we are gone. Cewmlator is business focused on manufacturing dealership. This is the same. Do we scale up in Duxland or concentrate on upcoming EV markets? I believe we should go global. Then coded company we have discussed. Assess legislation of impact on EV. This is the most important regulation risk. Developed country assess growth and market profitability. In fact, in developing countries, the demand is a little bit slower because of the charging station, other infrastructure, because the entire ecosystem need to be developed. For example, if you're using ICE engine, we have a gas station or petrol station everywhere, but we don't have the same number of charging stations, not even 10%, I believe. Now, what is your role? This is again important for you. This is also like I can statement. First is your role, develop business strategy. You should be able to create value for the business. How you can create value? By improving sales, by reducing expenses, ultimately, adding value to the bottom line. Control environment, internal control, risk management, all of that comes that. In fact, when you will get your result, you'll get a result in this categories. Risk mitigation is an important part again. Control and risk is very close. Cybersecurity, corporate governance, everything comes here. Financing strategies, like how to finance, then how to manage that risk. Let's say interest rate, how to manage interest rate risk, whether to go with fixed or floating. Then ecosystem management of stakeholder, very, very important. This is very easy to do, but still students struggle. For example, internal stakeholder, connected stakeholder, external stakeholder. Then what is their power and interest? How to manage. If you have a list of that and you can have some basic idea. Then once you get the scenario in the exam, you can tailor it. In fact, if you think in a simple way as well, every scenario will have a stakeholder. If you can manage that stakeholder, that means you are managing the situation, isn't it? Now, if we move on to the next part, that is introduction to electric cars. This is a very basic level. We'll go in detail later on. So first we have battery electric vehicles. Obviously, it is completely on electric. So usually the life of this battery is very strong because they don't have any other source of power. So we need to be very careful. However, sometimes the user can be, reluctant to use it when they're going outside the town, outside the city because of the charging problems. Then we have hybrid electric vehicle. Technically, here they are having a fuel tank and the charging is happening only for the batteries. So here the power is usually coming from the fuel, but just some part is getting used for the battery. It is very similar to we use our traditional cars where the battery is just getting charged when you are driving. It doesn't have a charging point, external charging point. It is all internal. Then we have plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. So technically here it goes in battery plus the normal gasoline or petrol, diesel vehicle, whatever we have. So it has a charging point also and it has a petrol, diesel thing also. This is like something which is safe from the customer point of view. But again, we are not being completely sustainable. Then we have fuel cell electric vehicles. Usually there are three categories, but there is also a subcategory we can say. So here this is a little bit interesting. So actually we are putting in hydrogen and through hydrogen it is converting energy to fuel cell. Now through fuel cell the battery is getting powered and then the vehicle is running. So technically it's not electric you are charging. So if you see this vehicle is solving the problem of power stations. You don't need power stations like charging stations much for this. Through hydrogen it will be in the tank, from tank it will convert to the cell and the cell will do the power for the batteries. These are the major types of electric cars. Now, if you go a little bit on the history of that, so usually how it started. So in 1830s and 1880s, early electric carriages and battery experience. So technically it was not for cars. It may be from other purposes. Let's say in the household, it may be, or maybe in the engineering departments, some innovation strictly limited to the business, obviously. Then 1970s, straight away, if you go almost 100 years, 1970, 1980s, oil crisis revive EV interest, tech limitation persist. So technically when, if you remember, there was a big oil crisis in 70s and 80s. So people wanted, or we can, as people, we can say government wanted to reduce the reliance on some countries who own the oil reservoirs. So they want to go to alternative options. So the research and development, the investment, everything came up for the electric vehicles. Technically, it was for battery, and everyone knew if the battery is done, then we can use that power for multiple sources. Then in 1990s, GM, E1 and Toyota Prius mark modern EV efforts. So Toyota, obviously, they keep on innovating. So they were the first one. Then we have General Motors. Straight away in 2008, Tesla kind of disrupted. Tesla Roadster proves EVs can be fast and desirable. So Tesla was the first one who brought a lot of trust. Especially they were backed by the uh, founder Elon Musk, and he was doing with SpaceX, everything, very uncommon, taking extreme amount of risk. So they're able to do that. Then in 2010, 2015, Nissan, BMW. So a lot of companies, they started collaborating. In fact, if you see a lot of companies might not make their own batteries. They have just changed the, accumulation of things, or we can say they were assembling the products. Then 15 to 20 battery cost drop, global EV sales rise. Why? Because when we do something at bigger scale, we get economies of scale. And obviously China was in forefront. China was doing since from the start. Then if you see what is happening today, 2020, 2025, automakers commit to ICE. Why? Technically, EV hit 15% global market share. That is good. Overall, it's good. But if you see, the optimism was so high. We'll see this detail in industry analysis. It should have been 20 to 30%. Like in China, it's almost more than 50% electric vehicles. But globally, it's not there because of charging station, because of misconception, because of myths. And it needs government support. Government was very supportive. But now we see in 2025, the support is being, changing. The government is changing, means the support is changing. So the industry is not very good position. It's not in a good position, or it's not something which the investors, let's say it's a banks, financial institution, or individual shareholders are not very positive about it. Or maybe in the coming future, this can change. Then in 2025 to 30, this is just an expectations. EVs reach Cost parity infrastructure scales rapidly, especially if you see in the US, if you see in the China, in some part of Europe, the infrastructure is going big. So maybe we can see a quick rise in the industry or a drop, but definitely these things are going to stay. EVs are here to stay. It's not like a phenomena, just it was a plan for the future, but we are into that future. So great. So that was a part one of our introduction of pre-scene. And obviously in the second session, we can see how we can take out questions from this. All right. So if you want to get connected to us, you can reach out to us on www.keystoneacademia.com, or you can reach out to me, Misbah Saudagar, on my LinkedIn profile. We also have a free mini course where we give the pre-scene and a part of E3, P3, and F3 mock and industry analysis. We are official learning partner with CIMA India, and we have students globally. So you'll definitely like it. If not, you can just follow us on YouTube and you'll get updated with our free resources. Thank you.